Good early Saturday morning. It's about 10 minutes before the hour of 1 a.m. here in the Bluegrass. I had something running through my mind, and I gotta share this with you guys. As most of you, or at least most friends and family know, I was a diabetic for 13 years. And suddenly I had a staph infection in my foot, and they went in and did a surgery to remove the staph infection. And after I started getting better, I was on IV antibiotics and then PO antibiotics. But before I could ever make it to the PO antibiotics, I noticed a strange thing happening. I had been on 4 shots a day for 13 years, and suddenly after having this staph infection removed, my blood sugars started being low every time I was taking mealtime insulin. And as my staph levels got even lower and lower, I suddenly was having lows even taking my long-acting insulin, which is called Basaglar, same thing as Lantus or Levemir, if you guys have heard of that. But now I'm totally off of that, and my blood sugar average for the past 30 days since I've had the surgery is still up around 130, but part of that is from the time that it's been lowering. But blood sugars have been totally wonderful since this all happened, and I'm on PO antibiotics, a lot of them, 3,000 milligrams a day of Keflex or Cephalexin, but having to take no insulin after 13 years, I'll set the story up for you. 13 years ago I had my gallbladder removed, and about 3 months later I went from having no pre-diabetes, because it runs in my family, and I checked it basically once a month and had readings in the 80s or 90s all the time, even after eating. And suddenly I was 609 and in intensive care on an IV insulin drip. But since this staph surgery, and I had wondered, I had fibromyalgia, and I started thinking, wow, the trigger points are all on fatty spots of the body. And I started reading, and staph loves high body fat areas, or obese people. So thinking, well, maybe staph's the cure. So I type in staph and diabetes, and I find nothing other than this article in AdvancedTissue.com magazine. Says the link between staph infection and diabetes. The study, conducted by microbiologists from the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine, sought to explore the notion that bacterial exposure can affect a person's chances of developing some chronic conditions. The researchers exposed rabbits to the same toxin, or superantigen, that is produced by Staphylococcus aureus, or Staph A. It's also right around that MRSA, VRSA. Those are all Staph A infections. What they found was that in high amounts, this toxin led to the development of symptoms associated with diabetes, including insulin resistance to insulin and intolerance for glucose, as well as inflammation. Inflammation, hence fibromyalgia. Staph, in another article, is listed as inflaming nerves and actually doing nerve damage. Well, in a year's time, I tore my knees and feet up really bad and had open wounds there, and during that time I had 25 years worth of neuropathy progression, to where I went from tingling in my toes to having no feeling in either leg, and it never could be explained. He's like, your diabetes is well controlled, and we can't explain 25 years worth of progression. It normally takes that long for people to lose all feeling in both legs. So anyhow, back to what I was saying. To check these findings, the researchers then turned to human patients who already have diabetes. The scientists measured the amount of staph bacteria and related toxins on the skin of 4 diabetics, and they found that the amount of staph superantigens on the skin was proportionate to the amount that caused diabetic symptoms in the rabbits. The secondary testing confirmed that speculation people with diabetes have a high level of staphyline on their skin, and the bacteria might be a culprit behind the metabolic disorder. And so, reading all this, I sent an email to the American Diabetes Association, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and even when I wrote to the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, I said, hey, look, if the kids are getting this right after they're born because you have baby fat, then maybe wiping them with Hibiclens and then re-moisturizing their skin and protecting against the staph infection might cause juvenile diabetes to disappear. Or if it's happening in the womb, giving the mother a low dose of IV antibiotics right before she gives birth, or for the last trimester at least. And after the baby's really developed sinuses, we know staph loves to hide in sinuses and nasal cavities, so why not rinse that out? Not just suction it out when they're born, but keep on cleaning it out for the first 2 or 3 years of life. The HIBA that, because most type 1 diabetics will develop diabetes in the first few years after birth, and actually may have it at birth. We do not know that yet. But I digress. All credit goes to the head researcher at the University of Iowa, Dr. Patrick Schlievert. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. His last name is spelled Schlievert. So I looked him up and sent him an email to his EDU account at the University of Iowa, and received a response from someone, probably not him, but saying they would take my ideas about it being the cause of not only type 2 diabetes, but type 1, as well as fibromyalgia, and probably some other types of things, you know, neuropathy associated with like botched surgeries, things like that. But I do have something that I can sort of tie into that gallbladder surgery and then the diabetes 3 months later. 7 months after the gallbladder surgery, I developed what was called smoldering appendix. My appendix was not acute appendicitis, it was just smoldering. I mean, it would flare up and then it wouldn't hurt, and then it would hurt really bad and then it wouldn't hurt. Well, when they went in, they found it was very much diseased. Never tested it for staph, I don't guess, but right now, all of my liver enzymes are on the low side. They're in normal range, but on the low side, which is great. But the thing is, my liver function, the total one, alkaline phosphatase, is at the high end of normal and slightly out of range at times, just from blood work that's been done during the IV antibiotic therapy, and once since I started on the PO antibiotics. But interesting, what I was saying, I wrote to the ADA, American Diabetes Association, and the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and told them, look, this is not a sick joke. Just listen to me, please. I wrote to them numerous times, begging them, look, just look at this guy's work. And I actually found an obscure article that he himself had written that was posted somewhere else, and it says that he is now working on a vaccine for type 2 diabetes, and that was written in 2015 at the same time, shortly after the study. I believe the article was in July of 2015, July 3rd, if my photographic memory serves me correct. But so, and he said the vaccine was hopefully less than 5 years away. Well, that's been almost 3 years ago now, so we're working on that time when it would be less than 2 years away, and yet it seems the ADA knows nothing about it, or the JDRF knows anything about it, or they're just not serious about serving their patients. You know, they take all this money in to solve diabetes, cure diabetes, and they won't even answer a letter from someone with a real solution. But and there's also a part in that study that was listed as a road to new preventative measures. These findings could lead to new clinical approaches for preventing diabetes, which could in turn prevent some of the millions of amputations that occur each year due to the dangerous mix of venostasis and diabetic foot ulcers. With new information in hand, the researchers aim to find new ways to reduce diabetes risk through staph reduction. And that's exactly what I have. I'm a living, breathing person that can vouch for this. I thought it was a miracle until reading this study and then subsequently the article. I mean, got to give it credit to the people that published this study. Once again, that was Advanced Tissue. They are the nation's leader in delivering specialized wound care supplies to patients. So, hey, they might be a business, but I'm going to give them props on this one. They turned things around for me, and Dr. Schlievert at the University of Iowa, he needs to be on every major newscast saying, look, this is what we are doing. He needs to be all over YouTube, all over Facebook, all over Twitter. He has an account on Facebook, but It doesn't even have a picture up. Of course, I'm sure Big Pharma is probably after him, but Patrick Sleevert at the Carver University of Iowa Medical Center is his name. But that's what I have. I'm living, breathing proof that staph causes diabetes. That's all for me tonight, folks. I am Harry Bear Brooks, and you can find me on YouTube at Harry W, all one word, Brooks, or sometimes it shows up as The Real Bear in all caps. And you can find me on Twitter at The Real Bear, and that handle is at Real Bear 47, or on Facebook at Harry Bear Brooks, and also on Google Plus at Harry W. Brooks. Thank you so much. You guys have a blessed night, and let's spread the word and get the word out that this gentleman is about to change the world, and we could all be part of this. Thanks so much. God bless, peace, and you guys have a good night.